Well, let's see what kind of progress we've made in here. Joinery. Now, it doesn't look as clean back there, but I have been making some space. You might not notice all the space, but maybe you will. Well, here's the shop. And, well, I think I took a video of this before, but I've shoved a bunch of stuff in here now. So the garage is nearly empty. I've got totes, table saw under there somewhere. I got some shelving, etc. Here's kind of my little desk and refreshments are over in that direction. I don't have to push in here as much anymore. I can walk around and so we can at least start doing some projects in here. I think one of the things we're going to try and get to today is the table saw. The other thing we'd like to get to soon, if not sooner than later, because I use it more than I use the table saw. See it back there? Yeah. Obviously, I can't cut much with it like that. But we've gotten a fair amount of room in here. I feel like I can actually start doing some work. It's just a matter of repositioning things and getting them available to me. So, for example, there's my little portable routing table. I'll kind of give you a little bit of a tour. The other thing I need to get to here eventually is my planer. And then that is kind of my metalworking area. I've got a little welder there, and it's where I do all my anything that has to do with metal bits and bobs, pieces, components, what have you. All of this obviously is a work in progress. So, you know, I have to move this to get at that so I can find a place for it and put it there. So that's what we're all about. So the other thing you note is that the table here, or this area, also has a wood burner. And the wood burner takes up an awful lot of space, and I really don't need one that size. It was free to me, so I'm all about that. And then, of course, you can see my desk, which is cluttered with stuff. Oftentimes, You know, I walk in from outside and stuff gets set there. And especially this time of year, since I'm not really actively working on projects, I'm kind of getting the yard straightened up and taking care of this or that, or getting components that I need for various projects. You'll see, you know, there's just all kinds of things on there, even books and such. I have Movements High Plane, poetry by Robert D. Becker. And I found this had blown into the yard the other day, someone's work of creativity. It is a cartoon strip, for lack of a better term or phrase, and so there's that, which was interesting to kind of decipher. You know, everything from a stapler to a pruning shears to a hatchet to some gundrew, which is a fermented kale. Some rooting compound, gloves, more books, and I've got pegboard everywhere. So I've got lots of pegboard and lots of space to figure out how to organize this. One gentleman on YouTube inspired me to this. It's little, it's the copper wire from, you know, old discarded electrical wiring, right? And he has a host of other ideas for utilizing that, and you have to, you know, make them yourself. I have to reconfigure it so I can take it in and out more easily if I want to move it. So far this design isn't that great for me. But I am looking at other ways of designing things. So, I mean, you can see the general effectiveness of it in that all it needs to do is sit in there and I've got it really boogered up right now. Boy, I tell you what, I have really screwed that up. It's a great way to use material that I'm not going to use otherwise, right? And so I've thought about incorporating them. So let me just take this one out that I've already wrecked, and we're going to reconfigure it and see if we can get it to turn out better. And I'm going to show you another thought about how I could incorporate these into a wood piece and hang them that way. So since I've got the pegboard, I'm not going to go to any sort of French cleat or anything like that. I'm going to try and incorporate these along with all that excess material that I'm not going to use and use them as tool holders, because these do get to be expensive over the course of time. And you know, if you can use something like this, man, I can get a lot of mileage out of this material, and I'm sure I can always come up with more of it at no cost to me, except for a little gas, maybe driving around town during junk week to see if anybody's throwing any of this stuff out. So let's get into what we might do to salvage this, redesign it, and get it working properly for us, and look at how we might incorporate it into a piece of wood. All right, well, I modified it, and it does come out of there a little easier. And it does stay in, right? So let's see how this goes in there. Not ideal. Let's see, we'll put our... it holds the tool. I think we could probably put a little bit of a bend in it. Somewhere in here. Whoops. So let's see how she sits in there now. See, now she's going to want to come out. You stick this, see, it's already coming out. See, it doesn't want to. But, again, conceptually, it kind of gets soft after a while. Copper is pretty malleable, I guess. And that seems to fit in there nice. And I can take it out. And there we go. It's simple. And that even goes in there now. So that particular piece right there, this one could go in there. It's not quite large enough. That goes in there nice. And, you pay for this thing, and not that I'm that OCD, but, some of this stuff just fits in there better. And, so you paid for that. You didn't pay for that, and you get the same or better result. So I'm all for it. Now let's get on to the wood block. So this is merely a prototype, right? So I've got these two little scrap pieces, and I can turn them into perhaps a bracket. So the concept is going to be, I'm going to come off the back end with these pins. And so, of course, there are many points of inspiration on YouTube, for sure, and in real life. Well, YouTube is real life, isn't it? But the most recent inspiration said to me, build a model first. And it occurred to me, and this is sometimes how it happens. The creative process is not like a start to finish process, and it's certainly not, A to B to C in any sort of linear fashion. It might be A to B to C by way of D. So, modeling it shall be. Clearly, this is already a manufactured piece, and it's just a little different size. Obviously, this is much more workable material, so we're going to go with that. But let me get this project out of the way. So I thought I would just see if I could start with trying to straighten this in some fashion with brute force. So in the end of the video here, as we close out, what I'm going to do is I am going to give some little excerpts from the videos that have inspired me, and I think we'll talk a little bit about inspiration in the coming videos and the creative process a little bit here on Haiku Eclectic. And you know, because I've got several projects, and I'm not for loss of a project, that's for sure. But to say that all of these ideas came from my head, not so. Well, I wrote a rather lengthy piece and published it on LinkedIn regarding AI and what appears to be the recent emergence of AI, though AI has clearly been a thing for some time. If you just stop and think about all of the applications that are really AI driven. I mean, even a spell checker is AI, form of AI. And Grammarly is certainly one that you could probably think about as being AI driven, because it's just taking a language and creating a dictionary, for lack of a better term. But in any event, it only has that information to go off of. So with that, it's able to, you know, check your spelling. But the thing is, there really, you know, is there really anything such as an original work? And I apply this in a philosophical way to the notion of a creator, or God, if you will. And because even as beings ourselves, where did the notion come from? In a way, it's a Platonic form. There has to be some formness out there in order for us to even consider deriving a work from it, a derivative work. But that derivative work is really almost, in some fashion, a copy of the original form. But in any event, I am digressing. I'm looking for something. Maybe that would do the trick. How might I round that? All right, I think I've got it. Well, it's fashioned after the model. It is a little different. It's a bit smaller, it's smaller in terms of the diameter of the wire. It's a little longer, as you can see there, a little taller on this. But hey, that was an inspiration for me to make a model. And in a sense, a prototype is a model. It's a form of an iterative model. It's a model as it stands. It could be duplicated, and it gives us a look at what that particular thing could do or be or look like. And so we would model everything else after it, just like we formed this after this model with some slight variations. So let's see if it works. Okay, moment of truth. We'll put this one in. just so you can see it. And then we'll put this one in just to do a comparative. Oh, there's a 2x4 behind there. All right, it sticks out a little bit. I think because it's thinner material, it doesn't need to be back so far. So let me just adjust that real quick. Okay, so there we go. I put a little bit of a bend here. We'll see what that does. And it should come back towards the pegboard on this other side. And there, it looks pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. Let's see what we have that we could potentially hang on there. Let's try. Hey, how about this? Let's see what we do. And there it is. And everything that you're seeing here most likely was inspired by someone else in some way, shape, or form. And I will even say this. Most of those inspirations likely did come from somewhere else. And maybe not so much in the consciousness of the individual, but in the subconsciousness of the individual, because we see so many things in life, whether it's the smallest little thing or the most repetitive thing, and sometimes those all come together and collide to give us the idea. And I think that's why YouTube is such an interesting medium, because people can go there to get ideas, and they can take those ideas and marry them with other ideas that they've come up with either on their own or from somewhere else or out of their subconscious. So in any event, please take the opportunity to go check out these other channels because they were inspiring to me. And now I've got oodles and oodles and oodles of opportunities to make all kinds of tool hangers and whatnots to fill up this pegboard and get my shed organized with all these new wonderful inspiring ideas. So please check these guys out. It'll be worth your time, and I'm sure you'll be inspired too. Joinery. Inspired life behold. Wonderments unfolded shown. Find a place at home.